Musicians Institute Guitarcraft Program, sponsor of Fox 17 Rock and Review.
Welcome to the Fox 17 Rock and Review. My special guest today, Grammy Award-winning saxophonist Jeff Coffin. You know, you've got your own record label. You're an author. You're an educator, and you tour with Dave Matthews Band for the last 9 years.
Yep, 9 years now.
And you've been with Yamaha playing their gear for 15 years.
15 years, yep. All their saxophones, flutes, the whole gamut.
Wow,
yeah, it's great.
So you know. You play, what all instruments do you play with Yamaha? I thought it was only saxophone.
I play their flutes also. I play one of their piccolos,
Right.
one of their regular C flutes, and also they have an alto flute, which is a little longer, a little deeper in sound, and they're fantastic horns.
Well, you know, you're so well known for your saxophone playing with Dave Matthews and with also Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, and you toured with Bela for how long?
14 years with the Flecktones.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you're based out of Nashville now.
I've been here since 1991. I've seen the change.
Yes, you have.
I've seen the change.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, we were talking earlier on the news too, Jeff. It's like, man, you were so amazing on stage this last January at the Winter NAMM show, and Yamaha featured you at their big event, and it was just amazing.
It was a lot of fun. It was with one of the great trumpet players, the legendary trumpet players of all time, Randy Brecker.
Right.
He used to have a group with his brother Michael, who was, you know, one of my saxophone heroes, called the Brecker Brothers. And so I've known Randy for a few years, but getting to share the stage with him was such a joy, you know.
Yeah.
And another young saxophone player named Grace Kelly, and she's been with Yamaha for a little while now.
She was amazing, and
she's great. Yeah.
I didn't know her name until I saw her there, and it's like then you kind of put things together.
Yeah, and so they asked us to kind of do kind of an upbeat tune. We were looking for something that was public domain, but everything that's in public domain right now is sort of like very old.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I can't really find anything. But the tune we did was a tune of mine called Tall and Lanky, and I ended up writing a little soli, like a two chorus soli, which is like a thing that we'll play together.
Right.
And so we did that, you know, and it was fantastic. They had such a great house band.
Yeah.
Nathan East and,
my
and
goodness,
a bunch of other folks, and just great LA musicians. So it's just such a joy, man.
It was
They're
incredible.
Such great
But
people.
you know, I wanted to bring up also, you just had 3 books that you self-published that came out last year, Jeff.
Yeah, the saxophone book is what I call it.
Yeah.
And so it deals with fundamentals. It deals with concepts of improvisation. How to practice, like how to structure a practice hour.
Right.
How to evaluate strengths and weaknesses in your own playing. There's what I call the Big Five also, which is the Big Five fundamentals of music.
Right.
And so there's...
Heck, I may need to get copies of those.
It's really good, man.
Yeah.
And so there's a page that I talk about those fundamentals, and then on the flip side of that is a page of questions for the student. And in the back of the book are all my answers. So there's probably 45 or 50 questions that I give my personal answers to at the back of the book also. And so it's meant to be a little bit philosophical. It's meant to be a book that the student can go into, and if they have a metronome and a tuner, those are the only 2 tools they need to get through the books.
That's great.
And so there's a lot of self-education going on with that as well. And so I patterned it that way. And it's self-published through Ingram Spark, a company here in town, which is great. So they can go to people can go to thesaxophonebook.com, and they can order it right from there through Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
And also through your website, right?
Through my website, which is jeffcoffin.com.
Perfect.
And so it's nice. I don't have any inventory.
Yeah.
And I can bring copies to schools. I've had some placards made up also to give to students and teachers. And you can look through the first 50 pages of each book online.
Wow.
Each book is about 170, 180 pages.
Well, you know, we were talking earlier before we came in studio. I said, well, how do you juggle all this, you know, with the tours, with your solo gigs, with your band? You said, I don't.
I don't, yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult life to balance. And I have a very understanding wife. She's amazing and very supportive. But, you know, I was just out for 2 weeks, and I was in Dallas, and then I had the Mutet out in Chicago.
Right.
Then I had to go to New York for a thing with D'Addario. I just had a new mouthpiece come out with them.
Oh, how
that
great.
I worked with them on. And then I had to fly to Portland, Oregon.
Well, let's talk about your albums too. You just
yeah.
had 2 recent albums. I think we've got a shot of them right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so, you know, your 2 different albums that came out most recently.
Yeah, very different projects. The gray cover with the flower on it, which is also a photo of mine, is called Sometimes Springtime, and it's sort of like little tone poems. I started them upstairs in my studio above my garage, and I was playing Wurlitzer, and I was just kind of exploring harmony, basically.
Yeah.
And I came up with these, what I thought to be really interesting melodies, and I thought, oh, it would be interesting to put those down and hear how the saxophone sounds with it, just sort of out of my own amusement.
Yeah.
And I kept writing them. So the songs are between 1 minute and 4 minutes long. And there's only improvisation on one tune.
Gotcha.
And it's at the very end of that tune. Everything else is through composed.
It's almost like a musical color palette then.
Yeah, it's, you know, it reminds me, remember those old music boxes?
Oh, yeah.
Like with the ballerinas on top and
Yeah.
that kind of, it kind of reminds me of that. And these simple, kind of quirky little melodies. And so I got to 12 of them, and so they kind of represent the 12 months of the year.
Right.
And there's some other things. It's, you know, it's just different ways of looking at things, I guess.
Right. And that's your solo project.
That's a solo project. Yeah, it's me on Wurlitzer, and I had Chris Walters, the great Chris Walters, who lives here in town.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant pianist. Play on 2 of them because I couldn't capture exactly what I wanted.
Right.
So I had him play on 2 of them.
Yeah.
And but I do all the woodwinds on there, and great drummer friend of mine who plays with Amos Lee, a guy named Fred Berman,
Yeah.
played drums on one tune
Wow.
also. And
And then the other album is actually your band.
it's a band that I play with. It's a project, excuse me, that I started with a great keyboard player named Jeff Babko, who plays on Jimmy Kimmel. He plays keyboards and trombone in that band. And the great Will Lee on bass.
Incredible bass player.
Keith Carlock, incredible drummer who lives here in town.
It's like an all-star band.
Yeah, oh, it's incredible. And Keith plays with Steely Dan currently, and used to play with Sting and John Mayer. But he's in Nashville now, which is great. And a wonderful young guitar player named Nir Felder out of Brooklyn. And so we recorded at Blackbird here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Nico Bolitz came in from LA to engineer it.
Nice.
He had done another project that Jeff and I had done together with the great Vinny Colaiuta on drums called Mondo Trio.
Wow.
And so when we were getting ready to do this, we asked Nico if he could recommend someone to do it at Blackbird. And he said, yeah, me. So,
That's a good recommendation.
So he flew in from the West Coast and
How
recorded the
amazing.
record. We did it in 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
And it's done very well.
That's
and,
professionals when you knock it out like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up also your special project here that we were talking about with this album.
yeah, it's a big band record.
Yeah.
And this is done with a group of high school students called the Crescent Super Band out of Utah, the real Utah Jazz, as we like to say.
Yeah.
And a great friend of mine, Caleb Chapman, who runs the band, he also runs an organization called Sound House, which is an after-school program that I think is going to franchise into Nashville very, very soon also.
How great.
And he has 17 or 20 bands that get together after school.
Yeah.
And the Crescent Super Band is recognized as basically the best high school band in the world.
Wow.
And
Well,
so
you said the money from this album also went to.
it's going to the National School of Music in Havana, Cuba.
How
We
great
went
is
down
that?
to Cuba. They were invited to go. So, of course, I invited myself along. And we did a couple of concerts. We started the record there. The first 2 tunes on the record were actually recorded in Havana at a studio called Abdallah Studios. And we finished it in Utah and had a bunch of guests. We have Randy Brecker, Branford Marsalis, Victor Wooten, who I know you've had on your
Yeah.
show, Trombone Shorty, Pedrito Martinez, Future
Amazing.
Man, Rashawn Ross from Dave Matthews Band
Yeah.
also, and 3 Cuban musicians. It's a tremendous project. It's all my original tunes, arranged for big band.
Yeah.
And so when I do clinics and workshops around the country and around the world, people order these tunes. They'll work on them. I'll come in, work with the band, do master classes, and then do a concert
How great is that?
of these tunes. Yeah.
Well, now we want to make sure also with your albums and everything, where can viewers find them? Where do you recommend? You know, your website is.
JeffCoffin.com is the
Okay.
website. Everything's available on iTunes,
All right.
Amazon. CD Baby also has physical copies.
And you may have a new album coming out in a few months also.
Probably in June. Yeah, I've been working on that for a while. It's called Next Time Yellow. And it's my first full band project I've done up in my own studio.
Wow.
And so I have, again, Keith Carlock's on half of it. The other drummer on the other half is Josh Hunt, who also lives here. It's all local musicians.
How great.
And let's see, I have Matt Wigton on bass, Chris Walters on keyboards, Matt White, no, not Matt, Matt's not on this, Jennifer Hartswick, who plays with Trey Anastasio and Fish,
Right.
who lives here. She's on trumpet on a bunch of stuff. James De Silva, a great young guitarist here in town, is on half. Lindsay Miller, she's on the other half. And I have Tim Reynolds on one of the solos from Dave Matthews Band, the guitar player. And I've got a percussion ensemble out of New York called Heritage OP. Wow. And they were in town recording with a friend of mine, Jason Shelton. So I had them come by and spend an afternoon. And
come on by the studio.
And, so
and you're going to have a new book out this year, too.
Yeah, I've got to play along. Yes, I've got to play along with the
In your
mutet.
spare time.
In my spare time, right. I've got to play along with the mutet that we've been working on for a while. It's a bunch of my tunes and also, play along tracks that people can work with.
And then the gardening book will come out later in the summer.
Yeah, the gardening book.
On how not to slice open your thumb.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
when you're a professional musician.
Right. If you're going to work in the garden, wear a pair of gloves.
Don't just look at the gloves, use them.
Yeah, 5 stitches later, I'm going to be okay.
Oh, my goodness. I'm just glad it wasn't any fingertips or anything.
No, me too, man. Me too, yeah.
Just incredible. Once again, the incredible musician, Jeff Coffin, with your albums, with your books, with everything you do, and your live performances.
Oh, and I teach at Vanderbilt University.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of amazing students over there. It's incredible. They're killing it.
I don't know how you keep it all juggled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll have to have you back on the show again and talk about more and show some of your photography next time.
Yeah, I have a show at Portland Brew right now, actually. I got about 18 new photos over there.
There you go. Stop in and check it out.
Yeah.
Multi-talented Jeff Coffin. Be sure and check him out. He'll be back on the road also with Dave Matthews in 2018.
Yep.
So a man of many skills.
Yep.
Thanks for joining me, Jeff.
Thanks so much, man.
Appreciate
it.
Thanks for watching the Fox 17 Rockin' Review.
Musicians Institute Guitarcraft Program, sponsor of Fox 17 Rock and Review.